Welcome back to the Shadow Priestess Embodied. I'm your host, Kaylyn Rutkowski, and thank you for joining me today for another deep dive and exploration into your inner world, into your body, the shadow realms, where we will begin to explore some of these esoteric principles and really begin to drop them down into modern day application and embodiment. This is a sacred place where you can begin to truly meet yourself, meet your medicine, and to meet your magic. This is a place of remembrance. Take a deep breath and let's begin. Welcome back, gorgeous humans, for another episode of the Shadow Priestess Embodied podcast. You guys, I have a juicy, delicious, mind-provoking treat for you today, which I am still lit up and activated from me and this queen's conversation. My friend Ashely Eve is undeniable. She is 100% on purpose, in her purpose, and truly doing what God put her on this planet to do. And trust me, you're going to feel that from this conversation. She's electric. And in this conversation, we talk about embodying your unique design through using human design and gene keys. She is an absolute expert in this domain, and I know that you're going to take away so many amazing nuggets from this conversation. So, a little bit about Ashely. She is a world leading BG5 business consultant and student at the International Human Design School. And she's really focused on helping entrepreneurs leverage their strengths in business rather than soaring up their weaknesses. According to Ashley's body graph, she can be best described as an energy with a personal destiny of individualistic direction and innovative perspective, insatiably elevating and judging how the collective pattern could be improved, building and utilizing her network of influence to deliver a visionary perspective on creating a new direction in business. And trust me, she is absolutely amazing in this domain. Ashely also runs a farm animal sanctuary in Canada that she found in March of 2023 and believes good people do great things with more money. Her passion is to see more women with powerful missions get seats at the right tables to make change happen for humanity. Let me just say, this woman absolutely walks what she talks. And in this conversation, you are going to feel exactly the power in this queen's mission. And I am just so deeply honored that I got to have this conversation with my girl, Ashely. And literally, I did not want to get off, you guys. I did not want to get off. So I will for sure have her back for a part 2. So if you listen to this and you have certain questions or things that you want us to go deeper into, please DM me through Instagram, my website. You can even leave comments on this episode so we know where to lead you next. So without further ado, let's dive in and get ready to just have your socks blown off. Conversation for you today. I invited one of my dear friends, Ashely, onto the podcast. So before we dive in, I'm going to have her introduce herself, tell us a little bit about who she is and the work that she does in the world.
Hello, everybody. I'm so honored to be here. My name is Ashely Eve, and I'm the founder of Elite Human Design Consulting. And ultimately, if I was to give you guys a picture on what I do and what I'm passionate about, is helping people find their unique, differentiated gifts in the world and make more money being themselves. I truly believe that good people do good things in this world with more money. And my passion is helping women figure out what makes them stand out in the world. What are their unique geniuses and gifts that they can leverage in business and life that not only give back to humanity, but give back to themselves and fuel themselves.
So this is exactly why I brought this queen on here today, because her and I hold the same belief that your key to success really is about unlocking that uniqueness, that otherness, that energetic signature that you and only you can bring. So I'm sure some of you are a little curious about, excuse me, maybe about like what human design is or what Ashley's talking about. So for those of our listeners who maybe don't really know or haven't tiptoed in that world, could you maybe give, I know it's hard to do a small intro with this, but just a little bit about like what human design really is and how it's changed your life.
Yes. So I actually found human design when I was in corporate and I was on depression medication, anxiety medication, and I just knew I was meant for more. I Googled manifestation one day and somehow the universe, right? It was just meant to
Yep.
be. The International Human Design School popped up and I thought, human design, what's that? My background's in psychology, so I was very interested in that. And I clicked on it. And when I started to see the core foundational piece of human design truly is a blueprint of you, a blueprint of your
Mhm.
wisdom, of your strengths, of the unique gifts you have. And we can take an x-ray of you as an individual, as a partnership, either in a relationship or a business relationship, or you as a team. We can take an x-ray and truly see, who are you below all the shoulds, below all the mental stories about why you can't be yourself, about why you have to do it a certain way to be seen or respected or to fit in? We can take that x-ray and start to leverage who you actually be. Pull back the layers like an onion of all those stories, all the conditioning, everything from a lifetime of being conditioned on who you were told you should be to be successful, to be yourself, and look at, all right, you as a unique individuated being with your blueprint in front of us, your hardwired blueprint. Who are you? What are your
Mhm.
strengths? What's the wisdom you've gained through life? And then we can leverage those strengths, create a brand, for example, in business, or even just the brand you in your day-to-day life of, who are you? Silencing the judgments, silencing the thoughts. And Ra Ruhu, he's a founder of the human design system. He was a businessman in Quebec in Canada, and he just quit business one day. He moved up, essentially became a hermit, and had this experience with the voice. He had the 7-day experience with the voice and downloaded, if you will, the human design system, which is actually, believe it or not, it told us exactly how quantum physics works before quantum physics got there. So it actually
Mhm.
mapped out certain aspects of quantum physics that science later caught up to. And one of the things that he said, which hit me in the heart when I first found it, was simply understanding how you are wired is incredibly helpful to reveal your hidden potential. And
Mm.
as someone that, and especially women, I find our entire life, it's, for myself, it was be successful, go out and make it happen, but not like that. Speak your truth, but not like that. Stand out in a crowd, but not like that. And I had so much conditioning around who I was supposed to be successful. I was fired from jobs from being too loud, for having too much of an opinion.
For you? Really?
I
I would
know,
never guess that.
it's hard to believe. And then I see human design, and the first call I ever got on with the International Human Design School, the instructor said, "Oh, says I don't even have to pull up your chart. I know you have a defined throat." And I felt so seen for the first time ever.
Yes.
And I think that's just the magic of it, especially for women, is, who are you? And let's leverage
Mhm.
that rather than who you think you should be, because human design is going to show anywhere that's colored in on your chart is your strength. It's something very consistent within you. We have a blueprint from 88 days before your birth and a blueprint from your moment of birth. And those come together to create what's called your body graph, which is essentially your conscious and unconscious strengths. And so we can look at that and really, truly, which is at the core of everything I believe in, give women permission to be themselves. If I had
Yeah.
2 seconds to say what I believe in. And when you give women permission, not that I need to give you permission or human design needs to give you permission, it's taking that permission slip back and saying, I'm taking that back. I'm taking
Yeah.
my power back. I'm going to leverage my gifts. I'm going to leverage who I always was below the surface, below all the conditioning. That's when we can actually change the world. And, I remember when I was a kid, my dad had told me, one person can't change the world. And when I found human design, I realized that maybe I alone can't change the world, but having these tools that help women leverage what they're passionate about and make more money and stand strong with like a grounded core of who they are in the world, that changes the world when women come together.
Okay, I love everything that you just said. And the part too that I think for me, human design really helped me see myself. Like it did really help me understand myself and like those parts of me that people said, "Oh, don't be like that. That's too much. And you shouldn't be like this." And you realize that like those are actually my gifts. Those are actually the things that I'm here to be, to express, to teach. And when you have a system like that that really highlights those things and you get to alchemize them from these weaknesses or things you were ashamed of into these strengths and gifts, you see yourself in your power. You see yourself in such a different way. And I'm curious for you, what were like the main things in human design that really helped you see yourself? Like if you could say like for someone who's new, because I'm just trying to like put my head somewhere that it hasn't or it's been for a while, like back in the beginning, like what were those things that you read about yourself or you found out that you're like, damn, like everybody needs to go look up this in their chart? What are those things?
Oh, I love that. So I think the type gets so much attention online. So projector,
Yeah.
generator, manifesting generator, manifestor, projector. And while that's helpful, there's a couple places I go. First, it's profile. So there, you're going to have a certain profile when you look up your chart. So for example, mine's a 4-6. Someone might be a 3-5 or 2-4 or 1-4. But your profile is essentially your public role. It's how
Mhm.
you fulfill your purpose in life. It's how you go about living out your unique gifts. And I remember once on one of my international human design school calls, an instructor had said that it's like a magic carpet ride. When you are in alignment with your profile, it's like a magic carpet ride through life where you get that ease, you get those synchronicities, you get that flow. And it was so powerful for me because most of my life, which is what we're conditioned to do, is try to be something we're not. And that's why I love
Yep.
profiles so much. So I'm a 4-6 and there's so many profiles that we wouldn't be able to get into all of them, but I'm a 4-6. So I externalize the 4 through my network, my wisdom as being a role model. But all my life, I tried to be the expert in something in the sense of, and I do believe we are all experts in something. However, in the sense of like, let me provide practical solutions for you. And I was always trying
Mhm.
to provide practical solutions. And that'd be a little bit more of the fifth line energy. Now, of course, I was just on a call with a fifth line client and he said, "What is a practical solution?" And I said, "Well, you get to decide that, of course." But when I realized that just me being me in my individuality with my design is the role model for others, that they get to be themselves. And that's one of the biggest pieces of feedback I get in my brand and my business is you just being yourself, your crazy self, showing up with your crazy makeup and your crazy outfits and being loud out with your horses and everything. That gives me permission to be more me. And so when I realized
Yes.
that really all I need to do is just be me, it just opened up a whole level of understanding. And then I think for everyone diving into where you're open, so where it's white can be so powerful because, for example, I have an open solar plexus. My solar plexus is white. So where I get stuck a lot in life is being afraid to trigger other people. I don't want to hurt other people. And so I quiet myself so I don't hurt others,
Mhm.
even if it means hiding my truth and what's important to me. So understanding that and having that illuminated was, of course, it doesn't mean just now going around and hurting other people's feelings and being a jerk, but it means honoring my truth and speaking my truth powerfully from my core. So I think those would be the two big places is your profile and then get curious about the openness and those shadows you get caught within.
So, sorry, listeners, but I'm going to be selfish for a second because I'm talking to an expert of human design. And as you're speaking, I'm very curious about this. So, I am pretty much all open. I have a defined root and a defined solar plexus. That's it. Everything else is open. And I feel like I am a walking trigger warning. I feel like I trigger the fuck out of people and I'm a fifth line. Do you
Mhm.
think those two have a role to play in like me being so activating and like catalytic for people in that way?
Oh, I love that. So when we're looking at first the root to the solar plexus, and I think that's why we work so well together. I'm actually the mirror of you. So that,
Okay.
yeah, it
That's
is
why
so
we
true.
drive so well.
Yeah, it is. It's, when we find kind of the puzzle pieces to come together, that's where our strengths really lie. So for you, it's very much the experiential way, going into things for the experience to get kind of the juice out of life, the
Yeah.
curiosity of life. But absolutely, when we're looking, especially at the fifth line I always say is, I love the fifth line. There's a grittiness with the fifth line, a truth that comes out with the fifth line that can be very triggering. Ra Rahu, who created this system, he was a fifth line, and there is, we either love him or hate him. It's one end or
Yep.
the other.
There's no gray. There's
There's
no gray.
there's no gray. So you're using your root energy, your adrenaline, your endorphins, what you're passionate about, straight up into your emotional center, straight up for your experiences in life. And it's coming out through the fifth line, which one of the things with the fifth line, Britney Spears, for example, is a fifth line as well. And I always use her as an example because people love the fifth line as well until they can crucify the fifth line. And it's kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
witch wound as well, right? Like
Yep.
the witch, it's like she's powerful until people, don't like her anymore. And then all of a sudden they're trying to tear her down. So I'd
Yep.
say that fifth line, 100% is a place where you're experiencing that, where you're triggering people and people either love you or they hate you for it. But usually the people that hate you come around and love you eventually because they see the light.
They're like, damn, that medicine was bitter. I didn't like it when you gave it to me, but now a month later, I'm sitting with them. I'm like, damn, she was pretty on to something there.
Absolutely. And that's the power of the fifth line, though. The fifth line is the leader archetype. It's the energy of the leader and providing solutions. And depending on where else we're looking in the chart, sometimes it's not solutions people want to hear in the moment, especially if they're
Mm-hmm.
caught in their shadows. But it's the solution the fifth line brings that awakens people. And Ra, who said the hopes and dreams of humanity rest on the shoulders of the fifth line. Well, if the hopes and dreams of humanity rest on you, you have to trigger us. You have to awaken us. If you don't do it,
Yeah.
who else will?
Oh God, babe. As soon as you said that, I literally got full body chills up and down my arms. Like
Mhm.
full body chills up and down my arms. God damn. I love that. And for me, so alignment with, I feel like my work. So this is just like validation, validation, validation.
Absolutely.
Um, I'm curious for you, how would you say that human design really transformed and changed your life? Like, what has been the biggest gift since you really discovering it, learning about it, and truly embodying like your unique artistry?
Oh, that's such a good question. So, funny enough, my background was in psychology. I was a counselor, which sometimes is very hard for people to believe when they see me now online, but I was actually a counselor. And again, I was struggling with depression. I was struggling with anxiety. From the time I was young, I knew and trusted that to do good things in this world, I needed money. I wanted to start a sanctuary more than anything. From the time I was a kid, I wanted to help animals. I wanted to help humanity. I actually traveled in Australia for a year working for Amnesty International, Greenpeace, and WISPA, like giving back and doing public speaking. And when I found human design, I really felt I was at this place where I felt like I was in the thick of the darkness. Like I had hit rock bottom. I felt like that dark goddess was coming in and just destroying everything in her path, but it needed to be destroyed because I wasn't willing to see what needed to be done. I wasn't willing to see the reality of how unaligned I was in my life. And so she came through
Mhm.
and she destroyed everything. And I'll never forget, I was on the floor of my bathroom. I had been casually learning human design behind the scenes. And at that time, I was within corporate. And we had a lot of bills at that. Like we had 2 car payments to pay, the house mortgage, a cottage mortgage. I had horses that were boarding. They had astronomical costs. And when I learned about the sacral, the big inner struggle for me was it's telling me like yes to quit my job and no, don't go back. Like, what do you mean? That seems
Yeah.
so illogical. And
Yep.
one day I got up and I physically could not get myself outside the house. Like my inner authority, my sacral was such a loud no that I physically could not get my legs to leave the house. And I never went back to work again. My poor husband had worked midnights. He woke up in the morning, sees me at the kitchen table, and he goes, "What are you doing home? Are you sick?"
Mhm.
And with a big smile on my face, because I was so excited, I followed my inner authority. I was so excited, I followed my sacral. I go, babe, I quit my job. I have no job. I'm going all in on my business. And the color drains from his face.
Yep.
And he's thinking, okay. And he's trying to stay calm because he doesn't want to
Yep.
create, right? So he's trying, okay, whatever you think you need. And I said, you know what I need to do is I need to change my environment. He goes, pardon me. And I goes, I need to change my environment. That's how you create the new. Your personality creates your personal reality. If I change my personality, I'm going to change my personal reality. I need to go to the store. I have $200 in my account, but I'm following my inner authority. I'm on fire. I'm like, I'm following my inner, I'm following that sacral. It's yes, yes, yes. You have the energy for this. Follow it. I go to the store. I spend my last $200. I had no savings, no paychecks. The job cut me off from the bonus and everything. Everything was cut off. I had $200 and I go get like wall decals. This is old school. Actually, it was pink. You're gonna laugh. Pink and gold flamingo wall decals.
I could not even picture you in pink, anything pink ever. I would never have guessed.
Oh, pink and gold flamingo wall decals and all of these like fancy markers and everything. I was like, I'm going all in, baby. I applied for a job, a part-time job, because I thought, how am I going to make up this income? But my
Yeah.
inner authority was like, yes, keep going. Yes, keep going. I applied for the job. They called, gave me the job. And in that moment on the call, I took the call. My inner authority is going, no, don't do it. No, 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 you don't have the energy for that. So I said, thank you, but I'm not interested. Went all in on the business, started sharing my unique genius, externalizing. So as a fourth line, externalizing the knowledge I had on human design. I had been at the International Human Design School, and it's crazy. It was, well, crazy, but also, of course, everything blew
Right.
up. It just blew
Yeah.
up. People were quoting me as the human design queen, and I had celebrities coming to me, and Broadway actors and musicians. I even had someone, I don't know if I've ever told you this story. She gets on the call, bless her heart, gave me a fake name, wouldn't put the video on. And I said, oh, put your video on. It's okay. And she goes, no, no, no. I heard about you through the pipeline, but actually I ran away from a spiritual guru community that's now under investigation by like the authorities. And she's like, I
Oh
don't want
God.
to know who I am. And I'm sitting there on the other side of the call. I go, when did it get this big where I even have people wanted by authorities finding me?
That's how you know you made it.
That's how you know you made it, baby. So, but it blew up that fast. And it was all from that moment in time where I trusted my inner authority, where I trusted, we can call it inner authority in human design. That's essentially how you make decisions, but it's intuition, your gut, your
Yeah.
inner truth. And I didn't go back in. And it made no sense in that moment. And I didn't know how I was going to pay my bills, but the business blew up. It was wildfire, and I've never looked back.
Mm. And I love so much that you're saying like how I trusted my authority.
Mhm.
And I feel like for me, this last year, I've been in one of the biggest voids of my life. I've been in the biggest pivot in my business. I lost my dad. My daughter was born. Like so many birth and death cycles happening where so many of the choices and how I'm moving doesn't make sense to my family, to my friends, to clients. They're like, what the fuck are you doing?
Mhm.
But like you're saying, like for you, you're sacral. For me, I'm an emotional. And it's like, I feel it. I'm like, no, like, even though it looks crazy to you, I feel this so deeply and I'm going to trust. And it's like the deeper I trust, this gets unlocked and this comes in. And it's like, how deeply can you trust your inner guidance? How deeply can you trust your compass? And I think the biggest hurdle for me, and I'm sure you see this with your clients, is that there is a huge deconditioning process that has to take place because probably however old you are, I'm 32, I was living out of alignment most of my life. Probably when I was a little girl, I probably was tapped in, but my adult programming conditioning took over. So it's like for somebody who feels like it's so hard to hear that and to connect with that, what advice would you give to really start the deconditioning process of really coming back into alignment?
Oh, I love that. And it's true. And I think, and one of the things I'm so passionate about with human design is in many respects, it's been touted as almost the new guru to give your
Mhm.
authority to. And Robert, who always said, it's there's a guidance system, but your authority is not human design. You are your authority. So I love that you point this out about there being a deconditioning process because yes, Now, human design and create BG5 for the business side, raw create BG5. That's for practical solutions. How can we put practical solutions in your business now while you go on your deconditioning process? And I
Yeah.
think there are some designs where there is a shadow of impatience. I was just talking to a client this morning about it. Yeah. Her design as well is very much impatience, and there has to be a huge trust and surrender into the patience and the right timing, especially for
Yeah.
you as an emotional authority. It's when it's the right time, when you have emotional clarity and going through those emotions. Yet for you and where your definition is, it's you have to go through the experience first and
Yeah.
then wait the emotional wave and feel into it based on the experience you had. So that is a process. So I think what I would like to say in regards to this and human design and the deconditioning process is it is a process and
Mm-hmm.
trust. Ra who said, especially for us as adults coming into this information, you're looking at 7 years. And within those 7 years, it's not like he said, all of a sudden the example he used is you're not just a monk on a hill now, where you've had this
Right.
experience and now you're completely enlightened and you're above the human experience. Yet there is that conditioning. Even myself, I've been in this experience and experiment, I'd say, for about 5.5 years now or so. And I still learn new things about myself and find new edges. So I would say the number one thing is have that patience. It can be so easy in a world. Something I said to a client is we've paved over our inner instinct with concrete, with institutions, with Amazon Prime. We've paved over,
Yeah.
especially that feminine instinct of sometimes like being pregnant, it takes time to birth something. Yet that
Yeah.
waiting, just like being pregnant, just because you're waiting for that due date doesn't mean that nothing's happening. There's so much happening under the surface. Life is
Mm-hmm.
literally being created under the surface. So
Yep.
can we trust to go on that journey of deconditioning, trusting one, you're continuing going to hit, you're going to hit the shadow. As Richard Rudd says, from a Gene Keys perspective, I'm trained by Richard as well. The gift is in the shadow. So can we hold
100%.
space for that? Yeah, and I know that's so in alignment with what you teach.
Yep.
So can we hold space for the gift being in the shadow? And if the gift is in the shadow, we have to go into the shadow. We have to be
Mm-hmm.
willing to go into the shadow and sit in the shadow without trying to fix it because we see it as something wrong with us, without trying to make it wrong about us. But as Richard says, being present with it with a smile. And that
Mm-hmm.
takes time to sit with our shadows
Yeah.
with a smile. And, something as you go on this journey as well, even with human design, you start to look at deeper layers. So with some of my clients, we're looking at nutrition. It's called digestion in human design. Are you actually digesting food and information in the way that's right for you? Are you in the right environments? But
Yep.
first and foremost, I really believe it is going back to, we think of the wolves, for example, or where I live, we have a snowstorm happening right now. Animals trust there's a season. They're prepared for the season. They get that winter coat. They hibernate maybe, and they trust
Yep.
spring's going to come. And when we go on the deconditioning journey with human design, can we trust spring is going to come? Can we maybe hibernate through the void and trust that there's still magic happening? There's still life being developed and
Mm-hmm.
get rid of animals don't have Amazon Prime. They trust their instinct. They trust it takes as long as it takes. The hawk is going to circle as long as she needs to until that mouse shows up. But she's not
Yep.
beating herself up because she hasn't found a mouse. She keeps going. She keeps looking in the sense of that patience and gliding over the terrain. Can we get back to that? And it does take time because we have, as a society, just completely paved over that trust, paved over that inner landscape with
Mm-hmm.
conflict.
Well, and God, I knew I called you on here for a reason. Like, I'm just like sitting here nodding my head, like, I'm like, yes, yes, this. But, like what you're speaking to, I think that from social media, like you said, Amazon Prime, just everyone wants things like this. Everything wants it now. And if it's not happening like this, then there's something wrong with them, or it's not happening, or it's broken. And just like you're saying, it's like you literally could not rush birth. I
Mhm.
couldn't find out I was pregnant with my daughter and then give birth to her the next day. You can't quantum leap a pregnancy.
Right.
There's no fucking way you can do that. There's a gestation, there's a creation, there's a birth, right?
Mhm.
And I think that so much of us coming home into ourselves, it is like, how deep can you go into the mystery? How
Mhm.
deep can you be in the liminality when you're no lifelines, there's no lifeboats, there's nothing coming, can you still be that deeply rooted in trust that like life is still creating and that God is moving for you, that life is happening for you? And that's really fucking hard when we're so deeply programmed not to trust that, not to trust ourselves. And I think that's why so many people never meet their full potential or never meet like that unique part of them because they won't sit in the darkness long enough to find their light.
Mhm.
They won't. And I think, like you said, the shadow is the gift. The shadow is the gift. Like the death is the gift because without like the death, there can't be the rebirth. And it's
Mhm.
like people cling so much to what's dead and dying that they don't allow the space or the capacity for new life to form. So
Mhm.
I just love everything that you're saying. That's so spot on. So
Love
spot
that.
on.
And I love that example too, how you mentioned pregnancy and you have to allow that gestation period because you can't get pregnant with your new next child until this child is born. And
Exactly.
there's a quote, one of my favorite from Ra Ruhu. He says, "You can never figure out and control what you're meant to be. You can only live it." And that means letting go of all expectations and your identification with this and that and the other thing. Give yourself a chance to actually see who you can be. He says that's really the great joy in all of this because it's a surprise. And that's
Yeah.
what it's about and being willing to be in that. I think, you know, I could say so much fancy stuff about human design, but my clients and those that are in my world know it, my big message around it is it's not another tool to give your mind control on who you think you should be or how fast it should go or what your
Yep.
next move is. It's a tool to actually help you let go, not gain more control. So being willing to go on that process is one of the most powerful things you can do when you enter your experiment.
And I love that you touched on that too, because I think everyone again is looking for that fix. Oh, can human design fix me? Is this going to be the thing that opens this and does this? And they use human design or manifestation as a way to manipulate and control reality. And if you're approaching this system with that mindset, you're fucking missing everything that the system has to offer you. 100%. You are going to miss it
Mhm.
because that's not what this is. This is like the way that I was taught about it is it's pretty much like a signature of probability or of
Mm.
gifts that you have. It's not like a definite thing because just like, I'm a fifth line, I also am all open and I have this and I have this. So it's like how all those unique characteristics and gifts work together. It's not like, okay, here you go do this. You still have to say, like you were saying, like you have to live it. You have to experiment with it. You have to it's an embodied thing. It's not something just that you conceptualize with the mind. It's something you have to integrate and embody for the gifts and the magic of it to truly land, right? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing is we are at an incredible time in history where we're actually moving from the cross of sleep or sorry, cross of planning to the cross of sleeping phoenix. And what that means is I'm sure everyone, all of your listeners and you yourself can feel that something's shifting. Something's
Hell yeah.
changing. Yeah. I feel so many of us have been in the void 2023 consistently. I feel like everyone's just been in it. So what this means in terms of a human design perspective is we're moving from the cross of planning, which was tribal, and it was very much external gurus. I'm going to find the guru who tells me who I am. I'm going to find the system that tells me who I am. It was held together by loyalty to the tribe. So even we were seeing this in certain circles where you might see, a spiritual community and someone's loyal to the leader, for example. It's an extreme example, but loyal to the leader just because that's the leader. And the
Yeah.
cross planning built institutions. It built government, banks, schools, big pharma, built all of that. And we're moving, and within that as well, again, it is the seeking external authorities from outside in. Yet, why so many are feeling this right now, and even feeling that inner turmoil where they say, "Yeah, I feel what you guys are saying, and it's hard," because we're
Yeah.
moving into the cross of sleeping phoenix. This is an individual frequency and it's moving from the inside out. So a lot of
Mm,
people right now are being called into finding out who they are. What are my unique gifts? Detaching from the loyalty of external authorities or, the experts of the gurus and coming back to, I want someone that helps me find me. And it's not
yeah.
that mentors and everything are going out in the cross of sleeping phoenix. It's that you find the people that you're nourished by. the right people for you
Yeah.
that help you find your own inner authority. So we are going through this massive collective transformation. Gate 55 in human design is under mutation, which is abundance as a matter of spirit, which is different than the tribal energy. Yeah. The tribal
Got
energy,
it.
you're like, I'm already there, baby. And the tribal energy was very much the bargain, the material,
Yeah.
very different energy of business, of spirituality, of money. And we're moving into abundance as a matter of spirit. And you have to be connected to the body for that. That's not something you mentally conceptualize. It's the body, it's the heart. What's going on down there? Instead of hurting our bodies around, I find we're so conditioned for that. It's just like herd your body around in to get a goal, right? A means to an end. Now we're
Yeah.
being asked to go into the heart and find out who really am I below the surface. And I feel we're all feeling, so if people listening are feeling like I'm crumbling, I feel like I'm in the thick of it. I feel like I'm in the shadow, I'm in the void. What do I do? Surrender more, trust more, listen to that inner
Mhm.
authority, get in touch with, you might be a sacral authority, an emotional authority. So your emotions, splenic, which is instinct, your ego, which is that like truly heart I want, not mind I want. There's many authorities that we have, but getting in touch with that. What's that saying? Even if it doesn't make logical sense, and start following those breadcrumbs because there's a big shift happening in the collective, and we're being asked to shift from a world of outside in to inside out. And we're in that shift right now. So we're all going to feel it. We're going to feel it more as 2027 comes up.
Oh shit. I have to just say, first, let me just like before I say what I say, everyone who's listening, I think it's like undeniable that you are 100% like living your purpose and living your design. Like, baby, you're on fire. You're on fire. And I'm so honored that you're here and so happy I'm having this conversation. Probably one of my favorite conversations to date. Like, I'm sad that I'm on a time crunch today because I'm like, shit, like I just want to take up all Ashley's time and pick her brain. And I will say I am by no means an expert of human design. I've studied it enough where I can like try to understand and implement for myself, but never to like guide it and teach other people through. And hearing you just put context to so much of what I've personally been going through, like 2023 was a fucking year for me. And I know for my clients and so many people close to me, like you're speaking to, it was so many people have been in the void. So many people have been in the darkness. And it has really been this call, like you said, back to the heart, like back to yourself. It's like where you are literally on your knees with God and you have to figure out and like find that uniqueness and that like your mission and your voice and your truth, like without any external noise. Like I've been in such a cave where I've been selective who I've talked to, who I've worked with, like because I've felt that. Like I couldn't put words to it, but like I felt it where it's like, no, you need to go deeper. And like when you think you surrendered more, go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think that the people that have been brave enough to really like listen and honor that are going to be gifted with so much wisdom and such just this new level of expression and leadership because it's coming from a self-sourced place. Like you said, personally, I got to the point too where like I'm so sick of fucking people trying to tell me how to lead and how to use my gifts and how to use my medicine and to be like them and to do it this way that I stopped working with all types of mentors for like the last like year. I was like, I don't want anybody in my fucking ear except my own eternal voice. And
Yes.
that has been the biggest gift, even in the darkness, because it's like you said, I found my voice, my strength, my power, really being self-sourced in such a different way that now I know when I lead, it's coming from such a clear channel and it's coming from God and it's coming from that, unique artistry and signature that I carry. So I love that you're putting words to this because for me, this is like, it's like I'm such selfish for this episode. I'm like, it's validated everything for me. I'm like, hands up for my girl Ashley. I'm like, preach, girl, preach.
And I love that you say that too. And you mentioned taking time away because when we look at your body graph, you have two centers that are defined. So it's going to be a consistent energy within you. Now, it means we could still use that incorrectly, but it is a consistent energy. You're going to experience it the same way, which means your G center is undefined, which means it's white. Now, when that's white, that's one of the places that I find can be one of the most trickiest for those, especially in the online space, because what that means is anyone that has a defined G center, so their G center is yellow, you amplify their identity and direction at 200%. So
Yep.
anywhere you're white in your body graph, which for you is a lot of space, you are amplifying the energy around you at 200%. Now, that gives you a depth and wisdom that someone like me that's really defined, I have a lot of definition in my chart. I know it's hard to tell, a lot of definition of my chart. I don't have that depth you have. Doesn't make me wrong, doesn't make me
Yeah.
bad, but I'm very set in how I see things. And you have this depth and wisdom from going to school, through life, through your open centers, experiencing the energy of so many different identities, for example, through your G center, so many different directions. Yet one of those kind of traps can be taking on others' identities, taking on others'
Mhm.
emotions. So I love to hear that you took time away, because that can be the most powerful thing for an undefined G center, is getting regrounded in your identity and your direction, apart from the influence of what you're amplifying.
Yeah, and I love that you're speaking to this. I will say, like, just a side caveat, you guys, if you are new to this, you can look up your design free online. Do you have a website you recommend people do that through?
Yeah, I love mybodygraph.com, or if you go straight to the Jovian archive, it's Jovian archive.com. Both of those are through the official platforms. So there is some software that's been manipulated and changed. So I like to send everyone to the official one so they're getting accurate information.
Yeah, very important. Do that. Do that and then listen to this again, because then you'll be like, "Oh, this is what you're talking about." But for me personally, I think one of my biggest things that I've had to decondition is my open G,
Mhm.
because as soon as I got into like coaching and really into this, I had all these different mentors, and I noticed where I'd started to grasp, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, she says this and she does that, and I need to do it this way. And let me just try to morph and do it this way," and try to fit into these molds and templates that weren't me. And then I'm frustrated why they're not working and why people don't feel me. So I love that you spoke to that, because if you're like me and have an open G, it is really important to have time alone, to connect with your intuition, to connect with your body, to really find like your voice in this. And I think that's why even now I'm still like, not that I'm against mentors. I obviously that's what I do. I'm for that. But for me specifically at this pivot in time in my life, it's so important for me to have a clear channel and to
Mhm.
really hear my voice. And it's really it's really redefined my relationship with my power. It's
Mhm.
really redefined my relationship with God, my gifts, and honestly, my magnetism, because the minute I stopped trying to grasp into molds and templates that weren't authentic to me, I got to like meet my muse, or I got to meet that part of me that is like fucking electric. And yeah, and now I'm like in such deep devotion to her that I'm like, I don't want nobody in my field. I don't want nobody to come with me.
I love it. And it's exactly the energy of what we're moving into with the Cross of Sleeping Phoenix, is trusting
Yeah.
you first, being in devotion to your unique gifts first, a- apart from what's going on in the external world. But yet, and this is the trickiest thing I feel in all of our journeys, because like you said, we're clinging to things that no
Yeah.
longer serve us, that no longer are our path. And sometimes at one point it was actually our path. And we're not
Yeah.
allowing it to die. We're not allowing that cycle to end. Yet we're not allowing the new cycle to start until we let go of the old. And so I love that you mentioned this, because when we go into the cross sleeping phoenix, which is what we're experiencing now, it's not, and exactly what you said, not about not having mentors, but having the ones that guide us back to who we are. And I
Yeah.
find that to be one of the trickiest pieces when people get into my world. Because they'll say, well, what does this channel mean for me? And I'll reflect it back and say, well, what does it mean to you? To your unique
Yeah.
experience, to your unique life. Because I can give you the textbook definition, but yet you've experienced this vast life that your body graph can't see. You've experienced situations and challenges, limitations and growth that we can't quantify on a piece of paper. So sure, we can tell you, and I can tell you what it means from a human design or BG5 perspective, but I want to hear what this means to you. I want to hear what's
Yeah.
coming up for you and what this strength is and how it shows up in your life. And I said to a friend in my network recently, I said, we are conditioned, especially women, to ask out before in. And right now, I really feel we're being in this transition of moving to asking in before out. It doesn't mean we don't ask, we always go in first.
Yeah. Oh, God, babe, I love it. I love everything that you're saying. And like I said, I'm so sad I'm in a time crunch today because I don't want to leave you. Like, I don't want to leave you.
We
We're
could
doing a
talk all
girlfriend
day.
because I just need to be with you. So, if you had to leave everybody with like one mantra, one word of a voice, encouragement, like one thing you wish everyone would grasp, land, embody, like what would be your message? If you had a megaphone to the world, like what are you saying?
Oof. Oh my goodness. I think the number one thing, and I'm stealing Rahu's words, so I have to give him credit for this, is number one, do without doing, and everything gets done. And that's one of my favorite quotes from him. And I feel it really embodies that when we trust and we do without doing, we're not doing from the mind. We're not doing from the mind of if I do this, I get that. If I do
Yeah.
this, I can manipulate that, or I can make this happen, where we truly are doing for the sake of doing, like doing for the sake of this is my purpose, this is what lights me up, this is what I'm excited about, and I'm canceling out the external noise. So do without doing, and everything gets done because good people, this gets me emotional, but good people do great things in this world when they are on purpose and in their purpose. And we need you. You look around this world, we desperately need good women, powerful women, purpose-filled women out there changing this world, bringing messages that are going to make an impact. And we can't do that with homogenized women. And homogenized women in the idea of human design would be I should be this because it won't trigger people, or I should do this because it's her direction and identity, or I should do this so I can prove myself. We need uniquely differentiated women in their power, changing this world for humanity, for people, for animals, for the earth, Gaia herself. And nothing's going to change by us sitting on the sidelines and wishing for it to change. And I'll never forget, this is a story I tell all the time. A good friend of mine, this is when I had my big wake up call in regards to this. A good friend of mine, her and her husband owned one of the biggest vitamin companies in the world, and they sold it to focus on their humanitarian work. And they donate millions of dollars a year. And I remember back when I first met her and we were involved in animal rescue work together, and I would see her do this. And I thought, but that's the dream I have. That's what I want to do. And I
Yeah.
had this wake up call of we do what we can, but sharing Facebook posts isn't, at the time I was living paycheck to paycheck. That's not going to be what's going to change the world. I have to, as I say, pull up my big girl panties and get out there and be on purpose and share my message so that I can
Yeah.
make more money, help more women make money on purpose, and we can get our voices heard. Because me, you, as one person, maybe we can't change the world, but all of us coming together, whew, I don't
Yeah.
even fully understand the capacity we could have with all of us in our power, all of us on purpose, all of us screaming with the mega horns of this is what I believe in and this is the world I believe in. The change we could have would be immense. And that in the world
Mm.
and the collective is afraid of that. That's why so many people are kept out of their power and conditioned.
Oh, 100%. Drop the mic right there. Like 100%. 100%. And babe, you are a woman who is so on purpose, so in her purpose, so devoted to what you believe in, so embodied in your truth, and it just radiates from you. Like anyone who meets you can't say like that part of you isn't fucking undeniable. Like you are electric, you are fire. I love like this conversation, just being in your energy. Like I feel lit up. I feel turned on. Like I feel ready to go like take on the day. But I do want to give you an opportunity to just share with our listeners where they can find you, how they can work with you. I will post all her links, but if you want to share a little bit about that, because I'm sure people are listening and like, how do I connect with Ashley?
Yes. So it's Ashely Brianna Eve across all platforms. You can find me on Instagram at Ashely Brianna Eve. On YouTube, I have an extensive library of over 100 videos on YouTube, and on the website at Ashely Brianna Eve. And yeah, I like to hang out primarily on Instagram. It's kind of my home. You're going to see me around the farm. I run a sanctuary, as you know. So that was one of the things actually that following my purpose and being grounded in who I am allow me to achieve. I finally got to start the animal sanctuary. So we take rescued farm animals and bring them into the farm, which is so exciting. So you'll see the daily adventures on the farm over there and all of the wisdom drops as well. But I tend to hang out most on Instagram, although I've been a little bit quiet this past season as I focus on getting the sanctuary going and establishing the sanctuary we started. But that's usually where you can find me, is on Instagram.
Mm. Well, I just want to thank you so much for being here today, for sharing all of your juicy wisdom, your genius, yourself. And I love you, sis, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, I love you. Thank you for, I'm honestly humbled and honored to be here. So thank you for inviting me. And I can't wait to see what all of us create together. Honestly, and I say it from the bottom of my heart, all of us, all the listeners, your community, my community, us, when we come together, I can't wait to see where we bring this world and take this world.
Well, it's our year, baby. Let's do it.
Is.
Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me and my absolute incredible guest today for another episode of the Shadow Priestess Embodied podcast. I absolutely love having these conversations with you all. So make sure to like and follow me so you can be in tune for all of the amazing transmissions coming down the pipeline. And if you're ready to dive deeper into exploring your own unique design, to awakening your feminine magic, check out my free transmission Feminine Codes. You can find the link to that in the bio. And if you're interested in working deeper with me, I am opening up a few select spaces for deep one on one feminine mentorship. Click the link in the show notes and we'll talk soon.